Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for the Week 1 edition of Inside the Zone alongside Justin Kinney, as we will be all season long, of the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and Justin, whole different feel to Week 1, I think, this season because of the additions to the SAC. The SAC had to reshuffle their schedule. We don't get that classic Luers-Snyder or Dwenger Southside Week 1 game. We got a whole different slate. We are starting with a classic rivalry this week. Our highlight zone game of the week is going to be the Battle of the Bishops, Dwenger versus Luers. What do you foresee in this one? Because these are two teams that had different seasons last year, both in terms of expectations and in terms of outcome.
Well, I think it's a game where Dwenger can come out and really prove the doubters wrong, I think. A lot of people are kind of believing that they are going to continue maybe struggling. Last year go 4-6. This year not a lot expected out of Bishop Dwenger. So how do you get back on the map? You beat your rival Week 1 and an SAC contending favorite Week 1. That would definitely kind of pique the interest of a lot of people.
You and I were both out at the Northside scrimmage this past Friday, Northside versus Luers. One of the problems we saw with Luers late last season, specifically the Yorktown game, although they were able to overcome it, fumbles, hanging on to the football, being careless with the football. And we saw that against Northside early on.
We did. The first play from scrimmage, they fumbled.
Yeah, so how do you clean that up? Because I know 2 years ago, Kyle Lindsey's first year, they had a tremendous problem, and he will tell you this, with being careless with the football. They cleaned it up, although they did have some issues with it in that Yorktown game last year. How do you make sure that isn't something that happens? How do you nip that in the bud Week 1?
I think this team just needs to be mentally tough. I think if they perform to their expectations and their athleticism, then I don't think there's anybody around here that can beat them, or at least it's going to be very tough to beat them. But, you know, if they're going to turn the ball over and fumble, I know Coach Lindsey was really upset about that on Friday, then they're going to let people sneak up and bite them. So that could be the case Friday. If they don't come ready to play, if they turn the ball over 3 or 4 times because they're not focused, they could very well easily lose to Bishop Dwenger. But because it's a rivalry game, I really expect both teams to be ready to play.
When you take a look at what Dwenger is replacing, it also starts with the quarterback position. Blake Buchelny has taken over. I know Ernie Bojarab, their interim head coach, wasn't tremendously pleased with how things ran in their scrimmage against Carroll at Bishop Darcy Stadium on Friday. But, you know, offense at this point is always behind the defense, it seems. If you're Bishop Dwenger, what are you wanting to see in that maybe first, second possession from this Dwenger offense?
I want to see a line that can dominate people. I think that is where Dwenger has struggled the last couple of years, that strong, big, physical line that was just intimidating, that when they were in the huddle, it was just 5 dudes that were 250, 260, and you already kind of had the defensive line beat just because of their size and their tenacity. And I want to see that again from Dwenger. I want to see them beat teams in the trenches because they need that, because a lot of other teams have better skill position players than them, but where they can dominate is up front. And I think that's where the classic Dwenger teams that we've known over the years, they just destroy people up front. And I think that's where they need to get back to. And it is a tough, big, physical, has the capability of being tough and big and physical. Let's see it on Friday night.
And we saw in the scrimmage, when you're battling against Luers, you got to stop Austin Mack. That is easier than just saying, oh, we'll double team him. I mean, it takes a lot to take a guy like that away. Especially, you know, throw a fade to Austin Mack.
Unstoppable.
It's money when you got Noah Wazinski throwing it. Teams are going to game plan to stop Austin Mack. It starts with Dwenger. How do they do that? Can they do that?
I think you double Austin Mack. I think you're going to have safety help over the top. Northside did not do any scheming or anything on Friday night. We saw it was more just, you know, it was kind of a scrimmage. It's just everybody trying to get it, you know, feel for what they got. But what we saw out of Austin Mack last Friday was that he can take over a game, obviously. So you need to key on him, but at the same time, you need to make sure you know where their running backs are, their secondary receivers are, because there's other talent on that team. If you feel like, okay, we shut down Austin Mack, we can win this game, you're wrong, because Luers has other weapons.
A final question. What is the biggest key in this game? What's the turning point, I think, is really the question in this game? And also, how do you see it playing out?
I think Bishop Dwenger needs to be able to run the ball and move the ball effectively, even if it's through the air. They need to score points. This game is not going to be won 14-10. If Dwenger is going to have a shot, they're going to have to score 3-4 touchdowns to hang with Luers, because I don't think you're going to be able to keep Luers off the scoreboard. So Dwenger, Luers, Dwenger needs to score points.